Hi, I'm Morgan,
And I'm Nathan.
and today we're here to teach you how to play Witches of the Revolution.
Place the Liberty marker on the Liberty track at the starting location and place the Moon track marker on the Moon track at the starting location. Each player will also take 15 Seeker cards, all with the same illustration, and that will be their starting deck. Remove the 6 Blessing cards from the rest of the Recruit cards and set them aside. Shuffle up the rest of the Recruit cards. Remember, these do not include any Seekers. And then deal 3 of these face up on the Recruit spaces on the board. Separate your Recruit cards into 3 piles of 9, and then randomly place 1 Blessing into each pile and mix them up. Once you've shuffled each of these packets individually, make 1 pile from them and place them into the Recruit deck space on the board. The cards with the colored illustrations are your objective cards. There are 4 types of objectives, all noted by the pairs of icons. So there's ones with red and pink, blue and yellow, red and gray. It's a different red, it's a skull, and green and gold. You're going to choose one of these at random from each set and place them in the objective spaces on the board. Once you've done that, you're going to place objective markers of the number and type shown below that card. So for instance, under this card, I will place 2 of these red tokens and 4 of the pink hand tokens. I'll place the 2 red tokens here, the 4 hands here, and I would go through and do that for each of these objectives. There are 8 types of event cards. Each type of event is noted by this little symbol. This one looks like a circle with 2 dots on it. Now, in each packet, there are some cards with blood splatters on, if you look very closely in this corner. These are the harder events. From each of these stacks, you will need 5 events. For your starting game, it suggests not using any of the blood splatter events. So I will use the 5 without blood splatter to start off. And I've already removed the blood splatter cards from these, so all of these would go together, and I'd shuffle these together. Now, if you want to make your game harder, you still use 5 cards of each type, but you can replace one of the easy cards with a blood splatter card. Or if you want the hardest game, only use the blood splatter cards. Once these are thoroughly shuffled, they get placed on the event deck space on the board. There's a helpful turn order reminder at the top of the board. The first step is always to add a recruit. Now, in the very first turn of the game, you won't do this because you just laid out these 3 recruits. Let's imagine we were a subsequent turn, though. In that case, all the recruits need to shift to the right to make space available to add that recruit. If, for instance, we were in this position, only this card would shift over to make room for the new recruit. Now, any card shifted over here to this final recruit discard space are banished from the game. These cards are no longer available. If at any point you turn over a blessing card from here, you do whatever it says on the blessing immediately. There's several of those in the game. Events work in a similar way. After you add your recruit, you need to add your event. You flip one of these face up, and if one event were already there when it was my turn, I would need to shift it to the right to make room for it. Just like the recruits, if we were in this position, I would not need to shift this event to add this one. Some of the events have special symbols on, such as this Liberty Bell. If an event containing the Liberty Bell ever moves to the 2nd, 4th, or 6th position, the ones with the bells on, then the Liberty track must move from its starting position down 1 space towards Tyranny. There are some effects here that take place which will make sense later. Likewise, there are also cards with a peril icon, which is this gun. If the gun symbol ever reaches the 3rd or 5th space, the spaces with the gun symbols above it, then a recruit is banished. You get to choose one of the 3 available recruits and move them to the discard pile. They are no longer available. Players all start the game with a hand of 5 of their Seeker cards. They can now either act and or recruit. They can do those in either order, but they can only do each one once. except for some special abilities we'll get to in a minute. In order to recruit, the cost of the card is listed in these star icons, little pentagrams. You'll see this one says cost as printed, so this would cost me 2 of those pentagram or stars. I would need to banish 2 of these cards, that means put them into the discard pile, in order to add this card to my discard pile. If instead I wanted to use some of those discounts, this one says to reduce the cost by 1 star if any magic icon matches. If I were to use this Seeker, it has this golden star, which matches this golden star, meaning the cost is reduced from 2 to 1. So I would only need to discard this to add this to my discard pile. Likewise, this cost is permanently reduced by 1, so I could just pay 1 of the pentagrams to add this to my discard pile. Now we can act on events to overcome them. These are down here. Each event has 2 options to overcome it. I can either play 2 of these purple hands or 3 of these red flames. If I look at my hand, I do have 2 purple hands, so I could play those and discard them to my pile. They're not banished, I will have access to them later, and this card would be overcome. Now, when you're overcoming cards, other players can assist you. If another player assisted me, they could give me one of their cards, but I could only use one of the magic icons on their card. So if somebody gave me this card, I could only use the green or the red. When it is used, it's discarded to the owner's pile, not to my pile, so they still have that card in their control for later. They will, however, have fewer cards in their hand. There are also unaligned events, which have this moon symbol on. These are more expensive to overcome, but you don't need to have a symbol that matches this symbol. You can use any 7 symbols to overcome this card. There are also catastrophes, which have this skull symbol. This one, for instance, says 8 plus P. If we're playing a 2-player game, that P stands for player, so it would cost 10 to overcome this. Just like the moons, though, you can use any symbols to overcome the catastrophes. Each speaker has the same special ability. They all say play to act again on your turn. If I just overcame an event, I could then play a speaker by placing it in my discard pile to overcome another event. I should also mention that each time you act, other players can only assist you with 1 card each. There are, however, some cards that will allow you to assist with multiple cards. Those are all written on the bottom of cards you will recruit later on and are very clearly explained on the cards themselves. A relic costs nothing to recruit when it becomes available. It must be banished when used, but assist with full resources. So if somebody assists with this card, I could use all 3 of the green icons. When you overcome an event, choose one of the magic icons listed and remove the matching objective token. So I could remove an objective token with the purple hand from here and add that to my stockpile. Now the goal of this game is to remove all of these objective tokens before you lose in one of a few ways. When you overcome an event that has the Liberty icon on it, you also get a second bonus, which is to move the Liberty track up 2 spaces. Once you have an objective token in your ownership, you can use it for 2 things. First, you can use it as an icon to overcome a future event by getting rid of it for its symbol, or players can work together and share them, and for every 2 that are played, you can reduce the cost of a recruit by 1 star. Now, players can only share objective tokens when they are recruiting and not when they are overcoming events. Once you've done your acting and recruiting, you have the option to discard any cards in your hand to your discard pile. After that, you have the option to draw back up to 5 cards. If you do not want to draw up to 5 cards, you can draw no cards at all, but you can't draw up to fewer than 5 cards. If you don't have enough cards in your draw deck to draw up to 5 cards, then you must reshuffle all of your discards. Whenever you reshuffle your discards, The moon track moves up one spot and an event is added to the track. The moon track makes things more difficult because they increase the cost to overcome events. So if we were, let's say, here, the moon track was at +1, instead of this event costing either 3 red or 3 green to overcome, it would cost either 4 red or 4 green to overcome. Whenever an event is overcome that allows you to remove the last objective marker from an objective card, you immediately get the boon, the reward at the bottom of the card. This one says remove an event from the line without overcoming it. So I could just get rid of one of these. Once you do that, this card flips face down and goes back in its spot. Once all 4 of these cards are face down, the game is over and you win. There are 3 ways to lose this game. If the Liberty token ever reaches the Tyranny spot, the game is lost. If you ever run out of event cards and can't turn over one when you should, the game is lost. Or the game is lost if event cards ever reach the corresponding lost spot for the number of players. So in a 4-player game, the 7th event, 3-player 8, 2-player 9, a solo game, past the 9 space. You do not, however, lose if you run out of recruit cards. If you ever run out of recruit cards, you just simply stop adding them to the supply. You do not reshuffle the discards and put them back into the game.
To summarize, on your turn, you will draw a recruit. If it's a blessing, you'll follow any directions on that card. Then you'll draw an event, again, following any directions that are on that card. After that, you may recruit, overcome an event, or do both. And then you may discard however many cards you like, and either draw back up to 5 or draw no cards at all.
Following those steps back and forth is going to give you a complete game of Witches of the Revolution. And that's how you play it. We hope you enjoy.
Thanks for watching.